Hello, welcome to Dan Really Likes Wine, presented by Pick and Pay, and welcome to an immaculately dressed host. You're probably looking thinking, gee, Dan generally looks a cutting image of sartorial splendor, but crikey, he's looking better than usual. That's because I'm wearing my Appetite Festival chef's jacket. It's about 17 sizes too big for me, so probably Adrian Vaughan's old jacket, which was given to me when I hosted Appetite Festival together with the 3 Australian master chefs, with Gary and Matt and George, and a whole pile of South African chefs. Some of them, although you can't see it, are scribbled down here on my jacket somewhere. I think Eric Pulpit's in there, and Peter Tempelhoff, and a few others. It was a wonderful celebration of food. It was a wonderful celebration of the restaurant industry here in South Africa. And together with wine and sport, for me, the 3 platforms that consistently showcase South Africa as being as good as anywhere in the world. Whether we are winning a World Cup in Japan, or opening a bottle of Ken Forrester FMC in London, or introducing somebody to one of our fabulous chefs here in South Africa, we are world class across all 3 spaces. And it's that has made the last few months particularly difficult for South Africans. We haven't been able to watch any sport. In fact, New Zealand have manufactured new cases of COVID, so they don't have to open their borders and allow the Springboks in to beat the All Blacks again. We also haven't been able to drink wine, to buy wine, to share wine, at least not legally, for some time now. And we also haven't been able to support our restaurants properly. Yes, they're allowed to be open, but the parameters within which they can operate are ridiculous. And the fact that wine cannot be served with a meal, such an integral part of the dining experience for so many of us, is not a death knell to the restaurant, but it's not far off. And so we've been looking for some sort of solace, some sort of comfort. And a white knight has arrived, charging in on his Radford Dale branded horse to save the restaurant industry and to get it all back on its feet. Well, not entirely, but he is doing an incredible job together with his mate Matt Manning. They have come together to support a selection of top South African restaurants, bringing together both the wine estates and the food space to try and salvage something from the chaos that has been inflicted upon both industries by the ravages of COVID. And so we've got both gentlemen with us. They've both got glasses of wine in hand, as I do, as we look ahead to what is still to come with the Restaurant Rescue Project, which is the space they have started, and also look back at the immense success and support they've had in the last little while. So Alex Dale from Radford Dale, Matt Manning from Grub Vine, a very warm welcome to you both. Let's kick off with you, Alex. Started something which, in the very best possible way, seems to have spiraled out of control, and that I get emails from you at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's taken over your life, but wonderfully so, because it's such a terrific initiative. For people who don't really know much about it, explain to us what the Restaurant Rescue Initiative is and how it came about.
It came about through my own frustration and despair at how the government's response to COVID-19 was essentially slitting the throat of the restaurant business. And the restaurant business, particularly here in the Cape, is an integral part of the culture here. It's inextricably linked to the wine industry, and particularly for smaller producers like us who depend on restaurants for our survival. So I wanted to come up with an idea that could help restaurants, but in a significant way, because if you raise money for a whole array of different restaurants, they all end up getting very little, and it doesn't even touch sides, and you can't help them survive. So I was having coffee one morning, almost a month ago, with my girlfriend, and literally over espresso, we came up with this idea of how to meaningfully impact the restaurant by bringing it a large oxygen of cash to enable it to get through the next 2 or 3 months until regulations soften or until the disease is better controlled, and also summer comes along and when outside eating can happen, et cetera, and more people will be around, hopefully. So that was the thinking behind it. I called Matt from my coffee table, and I said to him, listen, this is the concept, this is what I want to do, this is what's involved, and are you game on? And Matt was like, please roll it on and let's do it. So within about a day, he'd been able to set up his website. We got everything ready, and then we just went gangbusters. We communicated on the internet. I supported him with 200 cases of some of our top wines, and he put out the word to all of his restaurant customers on his database, did a lot of social media, we got the word out. I did the same, and within 2.5 days, we'd sold all 200 vouchers. In fact, slightly over. He went over, so it's about 300,000 rand that we raised, and it's in his bank account within days.
Which is extraordinary, Matt. Absolute manna from heaven at the moment, given the context. How important is this to you specifically as a restaurant owner with Grub Vine, and then more broadly to your peers within the restaurant trade in the Cape who are being supported by this project?
Well, I mean, like I said to Alex when he first phoned me, I didn't know what to say. Really, I was absolutely speechless. I mean, it really just gives us a lifeline. I think Alex actually said in a previous chat that it's almost like a oxygen for the restaurant industry. And I mean, for us, getting that injection of cash gives us that oxygen and that lifeline for the foreseeable future, at least for another couple of months, especially while we're sat here in this, prohibition and curfew era. So then, I mean, once we'd sold all our vouchers, I think the next priority was then seeing where else in the industry we could help. And Alex in particular has done an amazing job in rounding up more wineries. And then, yeah, I mean, I put a list together of guys that I knew personally that needed the help. And between us, we managed to get help to those restaurants, and it's growing rapidly.
I've lost count of the number of emails or messages I've got about some of my favorite restaurants that are no more. Faro up here in Johannesburg, which was particularly heartbreaking, is one of my favorites. I know Luke's had to say goodbye to a couple of spaces. It's not an isolated example, unfortunately, around the world, not just South Africa. Give us a sense, if you can, though, Matt, of just how devastating the last 4 or 5 months have been to the restaurant trade.
Well, I mean, it speaks for itself. I mean, I walk out of my restaurant and I walk up and down Bree Street, which is the epicenter, if you like, of Cape Town gastronomy. And there's so many premises that have to let signs on them. I mean, and that's over the last 4.5 months. But it's also not just restaurants. It's little coffee shops. It's it's retail as well that's closing down, and that obviously brings foot traffic to the area. So it's completely changing the landscape of the CBD area. I mean, I'm sure it's the same in other parts of the country as well. But it's just been completely devastating to see so many places that are established, go under and have no way back from this.
This project will arrest some of that, we sincerely hope. The restaurant benefit is very clear to see. Alex, in terms of the wine brands that you've brought on board, kickstarted by your own, is this simply your own largesse helping out and making a donation? And are the other estates just doing similar out of the goodness of their heart and wanting to be part of the industry? Or do the wine brands benefit from this as well directly?
I think anybody wanting to benefit from it is going to be sorely disappointed in the short term, because it's such a significant donation that's required that it's a net loss. And each wine producer, each winery owner that I speak to, I explain to it, it's a donation. A couple of wineries have said, well, what proportion of the voucher sale do we get? I said, no, it's a donation. So it's a net loss to your bottom line, and you have to accept that. I think, having said that, the benefit will come if we've managed to preserve 20, 30, 40, 50 of the top restaurants in the Cape. Then we'll be preserving the core of the gastronomic fabric of Cape Town. And ultimately that will benefit all of us. But each one of us needs to save a restaurant. And I've got probably 24 wineries, no, more than 24 wineries now on board. We've got 18 restaurants that are either already active or about to come active by the end of this weekend. And as Matt said, it is snowballing. It is restricted because there are many wineries that are in serious trouble at the moment, particularly those that depend on the domestic market. So not everybody can donate like this. I mean, lots of wineries are doing their own thing in a smaller way or whatever way they can. But this, you know, it's 1,200 bottles, and it needs to be premium wine. So even somebody like Sam O'Keefe from Lismore, who lost her winery, her house, and half of her vineyards in the fire just before Christmas, even she has donated 1,200 bottles. It's remarkable.
And I wanted to make that point. I did know the answer, but I wanted you to give it to me nonetheless, because it speaks to the generosity of the wine industry. And if I look back over the last 3-4 months of the live tastings we've been doing, the winemakers, the wine producers, there has been such a sense of kinship and camaraderie amongst the wine industry, people really looking to support each other and help each other out. And this project is a wonderful, wonderful example thereof. And I applaud you for kicking it off, and all of your fellow winemakers for jumping on board. You did start it off, and you've got some Radford Dale wine there. I think, Matt, you've got some as well. We won't ask Alex to give us his analysis, so we'll go for somebody completely objective, being yourself, Matt. What are you drinking there? And in your expert chef's opinion, what makes it stand out?
Well, I'm drinking the Radford Dale Freedom 2018, which is the Pinot Noir. Alex actually bought me a bottle to try before they bottled it earlier, I think, well, must have been November 2019, brought it round.
Yep.
And yeah, just absolutely stunning. It's everything that you need from a Pinot Noir. It's light, elegant. And I know Alex thinks it's probably his best vintage of the Freedom, and I definitely agree.
I've got a glass of the elderly Somerset West wine statesman Ken Forrester's FMC Chenin Blanc, which is
my neighbour.
Your neighbour, you poor man. That's your property price through the floor. It's as delightful as ever. And the reason I've opened this is because I'm getting some Ken Forrester wine with one of the vouchers that I've bought. I picked up a couple for the test kitchen from Luke Dale Roberts, and I've also got some wine coming up from my Wolfgat purchase. So some Luddite, I think, some David and Nadia amongst those. Very simply, Alex, you buy your voucher, you get to go to the restaurant, and you get some complimentary wine from one of these estates. Is that simply how it works?
Exactly. So, I mean, the value is outstanding. Let's say you spend 1,500 rand on a voucher at Wolfgat, for example, which is sold out. But let's say you spend 1,500 rand. You stand to then receive, when you go and visit, a case of 6 bottles, which are donated by, in this instance, 3 wineries. It's Savage, Raal, and David and Nadia Sadi, 2 bottles of each. And in most instances, the wine gift, the sponsorship, is higher in value than the voucher that you've bought. So you're getting your full value at the restaurant, and you're getting on top of that more than you paid for in wine. So you're getting between 200 and 250% for your spend. That obviously is to assuage people's reluctance on spending on restaurants that may or may not survive. But we've made it clear to each restaurant that we've spoken to, we're only going to fund restaurants that are determined to survive. It's not winding up money. They need to be committed to surviving. And let me tell you, most of them are. Very few of them are not.
So some wonderful wine names supporting you, and you mentioned a couple of them now. Also terrific restaurants, Matt. Yours sold out in seconds, unsurprisingly. The Test Kitchen blew through more than 100 vouchers in no time at all. Wolfgat, as you just mentioned, Alex, also gone. Who is still open, and who for you, in your opinion, Matt, is the hidden gem on the list that's still open for me to nip online to after we're done recording and get a couple of early Christmas gifts?
Well, I very sneakily got in there with Lettet and bought myself a voucher before Giles posted it on social media a day and a half ago. Then Upper Bloom restaurant, which is one of my favorite restaurants. It's just based on the main road in Greenpoint. They have a partnership, I think, with Valera. Is that correct, Alex?
Yep.
Yeah. So they get a case of bubbly, which obviously everyone's going to need when this whole lockdown ends. Lamouette as well. They have a partnership with Strandveld. I'm not sure if the pronunciation is correct, but yeah, another amazing restaurant that you can get involved with. I know that there's more partnerships coming up. Alex, I don't know if we can reveal a few of the partnerships that are going to be online by the weekend.
Salsify came on board, which is an amazing spot, great sponsors. That's with Graham Beck, Steenberg, and Copensis. It's actually a very, very highly valued sponsorship case. And then beginning of this week, Fane came on board as well. So 2 more amazing restaurants in Cape Town as well.
So the important question to ask right now, Alex, the restaurants are open again, which is fantastic. It's about 3 months overdue, but at least they are open. We can go out. We can even have a glass of wine now, but there are still curfews and there are still restrictions. The restaurant industry is by no means out of the woods. Anybody's thinking, well, I don't really need to support this anymore, do I? That's certainly not the case. There's still a huge need for people to get behind the project, to buy their vouchers and to keep supporting these restaurants.
Yeah, I mean, it goes without saying, even in normal economic times, restaurants need to be at full capacity and working flat out to be profitable. So the fact that they're still restricted in the amount of people that they can have, the fact there's still a curfew, it's going to take a long time for people to recover from this. And it's certainly going to need a lot of support in the short term.
I know that it's been a fairly exhausting period for you having to run all of this, and it's a project that leapt well beyond the scope of your initial hopes and imagination. Like most people don't know that Alex is only 22 and he had shoulder-length hair when the restaurant project began. But there must be, just from a personal sense, and I know it's not why you did it, but there must be immense satisfaction at seeing how the wine industry, the food industry have come together and how people have jumped on board and supported this extraordinary platform.
I think it, without a doubt, it's been a fantastic reflection on the human spirit, you know, during such an incredible, challenging, and, you know, potentially career ending, business ending, livelihood ending phase against a redoubtable foe that we're still not in control of, the disease. It shows you that humanity has such a good, strong side, and that, you know, the wine industry and the restaurant industry have combined to pull off this incredible collaboration. And it's a great spirit, and it's bringing out the best of South Africans, whether it be the restaurants, whether it be the wineries, or whether it be the consumer. Everybody's helping.
Guys, thank you both very, very much, not just for the time today, but also for the terrific work you're both doing. Matt, looking forward to getting down to Grub Vine. And Alex, looking forward to not just being down at Radford Dale, but also having you back on the show in the next few weeks once I've got some wine in cellar from Radford Dale, and we can try some together and pay tribute to both your wonderful project, but also some fantastic South African wine.
Cheers, thanks for that. I'm looking forward to not being criminals anymore.
Yeah, cheers.
2 glasses of Radford Dale and a glass of Ken Forrester, more of which I have headed to my cellar post-lockdown, having bought some of the vouchers at the Restaurant Rescue Project. You can see the website up on screen. Get there. It is ridiculously good value. I had to look at it 3 times just to make sure it was all above board. It certainly is. Every cent going to the restaurants, and again, celebrating what an extraordinary wine community we have here in South Africa. Keep enjoying the wine, keep buying South African wine, supporting South African restaurants, buying South African wine, 2 very vibrant industries who really do need your help. Remember, if you're not already part of it, the Pick and Pay Wine Club, 3 times the Smart Shopper points. You get a great selection wine, 20% discount on a range of 10 different wines each and every month. Another terrific way that you win and the wine industry wins. Thank you for joining us. Big thank you to both Alex and to Matt. We'll see you back again next week for another episode and more live tastings, 5 o'clock every Monday and Thursday. Here's to the Restaurant Rescue Project and terrific wine and terrific food. Cheers.